Right there in the back. We walked up, and then we saw the police officers, and then we talked to them. And as soon as we walked up, everyone just started to walk away. Like you could see, you could sense like there was an easiness, and yeah. So it was just filled with people, and then they were just walking up. So yeah, it was such a weird feeling.
Hey guys, I'm Paul.
And I'm Bea.
This is Everything is Boffo.
And in this video, we're actually going to share with you some updates about what happened to us in Lisbon. We were burglarized in our tourist apartment, and we wanted to just tell you everything that happened, and it was a very scary experience, and we didn't get our stuff back, but hopefully we'll get some updates from the tourist police sometime soon. So this trip really started off quite off for us. For example, when we entered the Valencia airport security, all four of us actually took different lines because we just wanted to get in right away because we were almost boarding, like the plane was almost boarding. And all four of us were selected to step aside and be swabbed. Like they had to swab our hands. For you, what did they do? They swabbed yours?
They swabbed my stuff.
Right.
My bag and yeah.
So we're thinking maybe this is like some residual stuff from the taxi that we jumped into. I don't know. But already that was like kind of off, that all four of us had that same experience. Me, Paul, and Gino and Marie, our business partners.
And then afterwards, when we got into falling in line, all four of us again were told to go to the place where they measure the bags for
Ryanair.
For Ryanair, for the cabin. And our bags fit, but we tried to put it in, and
yeah, they were giving us a hard time. So it's just like kind of a weird start to the trip. And then when we got to Lisbon, when we arrived, same thing. We went to the taxis and we were directed to a bigger taxi. And I'm like, wait. It says here that this is actually more expensive because it's a bigger cab. I want to take a smaller cab, right? And then we had no choice. So we're like, okay, so it was like €5 more to do that. So we were already feeling kind of off with what's been going on, with what's been happening with us.
yeah, I remember the cab, it didn't say how much extra it was going to be.
Yeah.
And the cab driver just accepted cash. So I feel like he just added whatever, because it was a weird number. For example, if it were I think our cab ride was like 12 euros.
Yeah, 11 euros something.
And he charged us like 17.
Right.
So it was a weird €6 number. So
right.
I don't know. It was just cash and just a random number. So it was like a weird start to the trip.
And then we get to that tourist apartment and there were no fans in the bedrooms, nothing. And we thought, this is weird. Let's talk to the owner to say, hey, can you provide some ventilation here? And because we wanted to sleep well, right? Have a good night's sleep.
It was during this recording, it was in the tail end of October, which is getting a little colder, but it was still kind of like summery.
No, I mean, and I want air.
Yeah.
We wanted some air.
Because we didn't know.
There's no breeze.
Our business partners didn't know that it was the rental unit didn't have AC. So we asked for like extra pillows because their pillows were small, and then asked for...
They didn't have that
fan,
either. Yeah. So that was day one. And then we had like a good dinner. We had like grilled seafood. So that was, I guess, the highlight of that first day.
I think I want to add that I had this... I don't know why, but I had this weird feeling that someone's going to bust into our apartment. So what I did with my laptop is, instead of leaving it on the table like I usually do when we're at a hotel, I tucked it into
the mattress.
The mattress. Oh, the sheet that's covering the mattress underneath, along with my... I don't remember which one, but I just put stuff in there because I had that weird feeling. So Yeah, that was like a weird start. I've never had that feeling before.
Right. So now he knows to listen to his instincts. So the second day, we started off walking around. We went to the vistas, and in the afternoon we took a tour. So we were pretty exhausted by the time we got home, and we even told the guide, because he was saying we were on top of one viewpoint, and he said, "Oh, that other viewpoint is also very nice." And I told Paul and Gino that. We go, "Hey, they said that part is nice," and they go, "That's where we came from." So we walked that far.
I think it was just about 16,000 steps for the whole day, but it was 17 flights of stairs or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, really, really bad. But yeah, I mean, we had a good dinner.
Yeah, we watched Fado performance, which was great.
We went to the Pink Street.
Yeah, and we had to come home early because we had a tour early the next day.
For Sintra.
For Sintra, so we had to head back home and
Yeah, I was already in bed by 11 p.m. and you got to bed at 12 midnight.
right. Because I had to upload my footage from my computer and just charge everything just to be ready for the next day.
Yeah, I think at this point, I think our guards were a little down because nothing happened the first night. So the second night, we slept again. The windows were open, and we sleep because it was loud. Normally, I don't sleep with an eye mask or earplugs. He does, but that night it was loud, and there were people walking, and we could hear them walking underneath us, and there was a street light right there that was going into the window. So, and I wanted to sleep because we had to wake up at 6:30 to go to Sintra.
So I'm usually an early riser. I usually wake up before the alarm does. In this case, I woke up and then I checked my phone and saw, oh, it's still 4:30. We're not leaving until 7:15 or something. So I wanted to sleep an hour more, wake up at 5:30 or something, or 6. So I went back to sleep, and then I woke up and I tried to look at my phone to see what time it was, and I couldn't find it. So I thought, did I not charge it? Did I not put it back in the charger? I unfolded the sheets to take a look underneath the sheets. It wasn't there. I went under the bed and it wasn't there. So, that was weird. Did I go to the bathroom or something? So I got up and then I walked into the living room, and I noticed that the front door of the apartment was open. But for some reason, I didn't think of any of it because I felt like maybe our partners were already up and maybe they went out and grabbed coffee or whatever. So I looked at for a half a second, and then I looked at our dining table in the apartment, and I saw the laptop was gone. And I looked back at the front door, and I realized, oh my gosh, someone came into the apartment and took our stuff. So I screamed, and then our partners woke up, and then Gino got out of the door, and he was like, what's going on? And I'm like, we got robbed. And then I was looking for my phone was gone, my laptop was gone. I went into my sport coat, which was hanging on the chair, and looked for my wallet, and my wallet was gone. So I was just in panic mode. It was just unbelievable how fast that was, because I was up at 4:30. I dozed off, and I think it was 5:48 when I checked her phone.
My phone. Yeah. And I mean, the phone was right next to him on the floor. So someone had to go crouch down to the floor beside him and grab that phone. And, grab his wallet, grab the laptop before the guy went. And, because we had the Apple family, I could see his devices. And thank God I could, because I didn't have to log into his Find My to lock it. I could just lock it. So I locked both right away. And Apple also has a feature where you can take out the Apple Pay. All of the cards that are there, you can immediately just take those out. And then when I was looking at the devices, I saw that there was an AirTag that was far from the apartment. So that's when we found out they also took his belt bag,
Yeah.
which had that AirTag.
Which is crazy because when we left this apartment
In Valencia.
in Valencia going to the airport, we both forgot something. So we're like, can you hold on? And then
We went back up to our apartment, to our house.
And then I forgot what I forgot, but I took it and then I saw the AirTag on top of the table on my computer. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just grab this and then I put it in my bag.
Right.
Good thing I did because that AirTag just, I don't know, it didn't really change anything, but it helped us.
The cops take us seriously because
There you go.
so
Yeah.
we called the emergency line 112. They said no, they can't help us, even though we were telling them they came into the house. And you called 112 first, and it was in Portuguese, right? They didn't have.
I remember Gino and I went downstairs and I saw the front door was unlocked. The front door
Open.
was open. So we go out and run up and down the street trying to track the AirTag, and so we were walking. Gino was talking to the building manager or the owner of the rental unit, and they were saying that the cops were on their way and blah blah blah. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just follow this because I can see it. It's like 14 minutes away walking. So we just walked and walked and walked, and then halfway through, I looked at Gino and I'm like, what are we gonna do when we get there? Like, I don't even know what to do.
Right.
So we realized that, okay, we have to wait for the cops. So we went back to the unit where they were, which I felt like we shouldn't have left you guys there by yourself. But we go back there, and on the way back, we saw a neighbor that you already talked to, right?
Yeah, so I was, there was a guy that I saw from my window, and I asked him, like, can you help me? Can you call the cops? Somebody robbed us. And he called 112 as well. And I was talking to him in Spanish, and then he was talking to the emergency line in Portuguese. And they were saying, like, no, they can't help. It's not an emergency, I guess. And so he said, like, okay, well, there's a police station that's like 10 minutes away from here. You go to that police station, you tell them what happened. So that's what Paul and I did. And then, we're walking, and, our partner stayed behind to wait for the police that the owner of this apartment said was coming. But we were waiting for 2 hours and no one was there.
So we walked to the cops, and we got there, and there were like 3 people talking to each other, 1 police officer
At the
and
police station, yeah.
two civilians, and then we were asking them, like, do you speak Spanish? Do you speak English? Because we can speak both. They're like, no. And then we were telling them.
There was one rude guy, yeah. He was really rude.
Yeah, and I was doing the translation. Like I put in the translator that we got robbed and we know where it is because we have an AirTag, blah blah blah. And then I was showing it to him, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
He was just refusing to
engage,
do anything.
Yeah, to help us, yeah.
And he grabbed a piece of paper, and it says like tourism police or something,
Right.
and then he was like
Telling
signaling
us
to
to
call the
that
number.
And but it said 212, and I'm like, okay, but what's your country code? And they wouldn't tell me what the country code was, because if I use my Spanish phone, if I just type in the number, it's gonna call a Spanish number. So I need to put in the entire country code, and they wouldn't give it to us. So that was just like so frustrating that they were not helpful, or they weren't even receptive. That was the most frustrating part, was how dismissive they were. And then there was another officer there who was in plain clothes who was nicer. And at first, like, he pretended like he didn't speak English, because Paul was like talking to him in Portuguese, translating in Portuguese for him using my phone. And he was saying, like, we know where it is. We know exactly where this AirTag is, where the people are.
And then he asked me, where is it? And then I said the address, and they're like, and he's like, okay, come with me. And then you walk. I don't know where we were going. While we were walking, we saw two other police officers in civilian clothes. They were talking to each other, and he was saying like, "Go this way," and
We go that way.
So we walked with the police officer, and then we get to that point, and then the other two showed up. So we were kind of like going around to surround the perimeter, I guess. And you know, once we got there, we were trying to ring. We were trying to
His
ring
phone,
the AirTag,
yeah.
and the police officers were looking through the trash and stuff. And he's like, he looked at me and said, "Do you have a wallet, a brown wallet?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I have a brown wallet." He's like, he pointed to the ground, and sure enough, my wallet was there. And she grabbed it and opened it up, and it was all empty. Like even the receipts were gone, which I don't know why he would have done that. So we were just there for maybe 30 minutes, just trying to figure out where it was. You know, just looking up, looking through. They were trying to test all these doors, and eventually
They had to go. So
eventually they had to go. They told us that they can't do anything.
yeah, if it's because it's not a public place, they can't do anything. And they told us to go to the tourist section, I guess, or the tourist department, police department, so that we could file our police report, because you know obviously they spoke English there. So at this time it was around 7 o'clock, and we were like, so we went and hailed a cab to get there. And once we got there, the cab wanted us to pay by cash, because they don't take credit card in for taxis in Lisbon. And I only had 10 euros left. That was it. Like that, all the other cash was with Paul, and that was all gone. So definitely a very frustrating experience. And then when we get there, we're like knocking on the door, and the lady goes, "This office doesn't open till 8 o'clock, so you will have to wait." And we're like, okay, fine. I guess it's not an emergency when someone comes into your house.
And then another police officer popped out, and he said, what did he ask us?
No, he said, come in. He said, it's chilly, come inside. And then we'd start talking to him. He goes, we don't open till 8, okay? So you just wait here. And then, yeah, okay, because we just got robbed. We're still trying to tell him.
I know where it is, and blah, blah, blah. He's like, let me have my coffee first. In a very funny way,
right. Trying to make light of the situation.
Yeah, let me have my coffee first, and then we'll talk about it, which kind of like calmed us down. But at the same time, I'm like, my God,
it's there. We know where it is. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we filed a police report. The officer spoke perfect English and told us what to do next, what their next steps were. He told us, do not engage, and if the AirTag moves to a public place, you call the cops. So call us, right? So next step, we got our police report. We had to go get some cash, because we had no cash, and without any cash, you can't use any taxis and any of that stuff. So that's what we did. And then I felt like I should check again the AirTag, and then it moved, and we're like, oh my gosh, okay. So I call the officer that I was just talking to, and he goes, is it a public place? I'm like, I don't know, I just know that this is the other location now. And then he goes, well, if it's not in a public location, we can't do anything. So we want to see if this is a public location. We get there, and this area, I kid you not, had a lot of people that were just hanging out, and they all looked like gang members, and they were looking at us like they knew like we were not supposed to be there. And there were cops, because I would say like it's a popular area, it's close to like a touristic area. So there were two kind of like security guards. They had yellow vests on. And they're there to kind of just like, they have to stay there, because otherwise things can just, I guess, like go crazy. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, for a lack of a better word, like they looked like they were all gang members or...
It's just weird to have an area like that when you know that these guys were just hanging out.
I don't know what they're doing. Yeah.
And then, they're talking to each other sometimes. Sometimes they're walking back and forth on the phone.
They're looking at us. They're looking at my phone.
So
yeah.
once we got there, it you could feel that they were just looking
They
at
were
us.
in on it.
They
Yeah,
were fidgety. Yeah.
I feel like they were in on it. So we went and approached the guards, and I swear the guards are here, and the store where the AirTag is right there. But when we're trying to explain to them, like the AirTag moved, and we don't know who it is moving. We couldn't see. We just know that it moved, and it moved back to the house, which was just like around the corner. That house that where we first found that AirTag. I mean, pinging. So
And
yeah.
we were talking to these guys, and you know they're more attentive than the cops were because
Right.
they really wanted to help and they knew what the situation
Yeah.
was. They knew where they were, and they were just like calm down because.
Yeah, we're gonna call the cops.
And this was all
the
in
national
Portuguese,
police.
and we don't understand Portuguese, but we could see like their
They're
body
like
language.
this, like that.
So I was showing them my translator and telling them everything, and I'm like, you know what? That guy in orange has been walking back and forth, and he's the only person who's looking at me differently. Like others look and then they just go back on their phone, but this guy is just walking and then he looks back maybe like 1 second, 2 seconds longer than usual, and then while he was walking away from us, he goes to this group of other guys, and as soon as he reaches those guys, everyone just started looking at us, and I automatically
Right.
you know who
but,
it was.
But the AirTag wasn't pinging at that time anymore. And, like we
This was the AirTag was already back
back
at that building.
That building, at that first building. And they couldn't accompany us. We had to wait for the cops to come.
We had to wait. They called the National Guard,
Yeah, National Police.
the National Police, until we could move. And while we were waiting for that, the guy walked past us again.
Once we arrived at that store or close to that store, it moved away from us, and it stayed there. So either maybe the thief that had his belt bag went back home to leave the belt bag there at the house. That's how I feel happened.
And we stuck out like.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything, but we were the only Asians in that area.
Right.
And you could automatically, you could see in my ID, he already asked my ID. So he knows what I look like. And as soon as I walked up, everyone knew who we were.
They were looking at us like they were trying, because I was trying to show the cop like the AirTag position. And this guy behind me was like trying to see what my phone screen was at. Like he was trying to see, and I'm like, what, So definitely like a very frustrating situation, and then but also scary because we don't know what this person looks like, but he knows what Paul looks like. I'm hoping that because we had eye masks that they won't recognize us, but
he already has my ID, so
Right.
he knows.
right.
And then so after waiting, the National Police finally arrived. We
in
started.
like 5 minutes, yeah.
They started walking first, and then we just joined them, right?
The guards, the ones patrolling the area said they can't leave their position, so they didn't want to leave that, and then left the National Police to go do their thing, right? Like asking like the stores and all that, and then after a while they're like, no, come on, let's all go together, let's all go see what's going on. And we go there, and we're in the same area where we found Paul's brown wallet. We were looking around, checking everything, and we couldn't find anything. We couldn't ping the AirTag for some reason. There's like no signal because we were inside like these tall, like an alleyway. So we couldn't see anything. And like the people who were living in the building, they were just peeping outside their window, just looking at us. Nobody bothered to help to ask like what's going on, what are you looking for? Why are there cops here? They were just smiling and like looking at us.
Yeah.
So
and then one of the buildings, the main door was open, so the police went in and went upstairs, which also had their door open, and it was on the first floor, and they were talking to them, and I could hear what they were saying. They were like, "Oh, this is a private residence," and blah blah blah. So the cops went back down, and we were still looking around, and then finally around the corner from on the floor, I see my AirTag, and then I'm like, "Oh, here it is."
it wasn't there before.
It wasn't there before.
Right.
So immediately when we found that AirTag, I told her, "That's it. Like there's no way we could find this
Right.
person anymore because he already knows." So after we found the AirTag, and we said that's it. It's done. we said thanks to the cops, and then they went on their way, and then we go around the corner, try to withdraw money, and out of all this, while we were withdrawing money, someone recognized us from this YouTube channel, and he said hi and blah blah blah, and it really made our day because it was just so depressing and scary, and
very violating.
So to you who said hi to us, I really appreciate that.
So this part of the video is where we tell you the lessons that we learned throughout this whole ordeal, and what we could have done differently, and also to share with you the correct phone number with the country code of the police department specifically for tourists.
And the address, where to go.
Right.
So first, I feel like the lesson that we've learned is Europe is beautiful, but then, like for example in Lisbon, you walk around and you admire all these areas, and you don't notice that you're in a shady area, like in a bad area, because
it
it's so
looks
beautiful,
romantic and
right,
picturesque.
So I think that's one of the lessons that we've really learned, is that you need to pay attention to where you are, because it's so hard to differentiate it, because it's an old city. Usually
Right.
in Europe, old cities don't really
You won't recognize if you're in a bad area because cobblestone paths. You're thinking like Disneyland. It's cobblestone paths. No, all the streets look like that. That doesn't mean you're in a great area.
And it's an old city, so it's usually dark anyway. So it's really hard to
tell.
differentiate. Yeah.
Taxis take cash, but Uber does take cards. So it was easier for us to call an Uber sometimes and have that fixed price, as opposed to hailing a cab.
I think one of the tips would be try to spread out your valuables when you're in a room, in a hotel room or an apartment, because when these people go into the apartment, they don't take their time and search everything. It's not like a movie where so they try to like grab whatever they can,
Right.
and then just leave.
Yeah,
right?
so secure your stuff. My
Yeah.
phone was underneath my pillow, and my purse was inside a closet. So
Our passports were right where he got into the window. It was right on his feet when he landed.
it was in a bag there.
Thank goodness you didn't see that.
Another thing that we should have done was really like leave the window maybe open, but then close the persiana to make sure that the room was secure, because we found out that the thief went up from the garbage can up to our bedroom window. That's how he entered. It wasn't through the front door. He climbed up a garbage, like a trash can, and scaled that wall. I don't know how he did it. It was still pretty high. That's why we really felt like, nothing's gonna happen to us. And then we talked to the cleaning ladies of the apartment building and told them what happened, and told her like they used this trash can. She goes, that's why this trash can is here. Normally it's way over there down the street.
Down the street, so he had to like pull it up the street and then climb on it, which is crazy because the next day we were at a tour in Beleng, and we were talking to this girl who was telling us that it also happened in her city. Like, this is exactly what they do. They grab a trash bin and then climb on top. So the first floor apartments and the second floor apartments are not safe.
Good.
Like they already know how to get into these places. And like this gentleman that we went to a bar to decompress and eat our sorrows away.
It was like 3 p.m. and we still haven't had anything to eat.
So we talked to the owner. We told the people at the bar. There's only one person and the owner there, and we told them what happened. And then the owner said, "You know what? These guys, they have like a group, like a mafia, where one person rents an Airbnb or a rental unit or whatever to scope out the situation.
Right.
If it's feasible to get into the apartment, they know the locks, the codes for the buildings. They know if the windows have locks or not. They know if it's a weak lock. They know if the unit doesn't have AC and all these things.
Right.
So they just pay. I mean, they pay what? Like at the most $200 a night just to see,
Scope it out.
and then they grab your stuff and they leave with like $5,000 worth of equipment. So that's what he was saying, because he said, I've been here for 35 years in this business, and that's what they've been doing, which it was just so scary.
And then also, when we filed this report with the tourist police, officer said that this usually happens during the summer months, okay? Doesn't usually happen in October. But that means that this is something that is happening, and this is something that is preventable, because if this is something that is known, then people should have warned us. Like the tourist department should have warned us not to leave our windows open, even on the, even if it's higher than the street level.
Which is exactly what our business partner said. Our friend said that, when they contacted the building owner, they didn't act like, they weren't surprised. Like they were just, very
We'll call the
nonchalant
cops,
about
that's
it.
it,
Yeah. But the person that we were talking to at the tour, she said that your rental unit should have told you about it. Like, don't leave your windows open, because they know they've been doing this for so long.
Right.
So that's one of the lessons that we've learned too.
So if you pick a lodging that doesn't have a reception, like it's not a hotel, but gives you just the codes, make sure that you secure everything, and if there's a safe, put things in the safe.
Now we go to the credit cards, because I feel like that's one of the biggest reliefs that we've had. Is once we were dealing with all of these things and we were following the thief, she was canceling all the cards. And we have Capital One and Wise, and it was super easy to just freeze everything.
For Capital One, it was very easy. You just log in, lock your card, and that's it. Nothing happens. With Wise, I had to make a call, and they wouldn't let me freeze the card because I was not Paul. So I had to wait for him to come back to say, like, hey, you have to call this number already, and like have them cancel. So our Wise card is actually a debit card, so it did have money in there. And thankfully, I guess like the thief was lazy, because he just went home and slept, I guess. Or like because the stores were all closed, so he had nowhere to go to use it. But when he did use it at around 7:23 a.m., the card was already completely blocked, and our accounts were frozen. So lesson learned, don't bring a debit card that has a lot of money in there. Just bring enough for you to be able to make some withdrawals. We did like bringing our Wise card because there were no credit card fees or no ATM fees when we used them.
And we've known this for a while, that and never do transactions with debit. Always do credit, because with credit you could always contest it. You could always tell the credit card, block that, whatever. With debit, once the money's gone, it's gone. So I always try to tell my family, especially, just do credit. Even if it's a debit card, just do transactions through credit.
So the country code for Portugal is 351. And then after you enter plus 351, then you can put in the rest of the phone numbers, and we'll put that phone number here for the police department, specifically for tourists in Lisbon.
So make sure you remember that if there's an emergency, the Lisbon cops, the Portuguese cops, are not going to help you. They're always just going to refer you to the tourism cops, which opens at 8. So try not to be in an emergency before 8, because it's just...
Yeah, burglary isn't an emergency, apparently.
And then so when we were talking to the people at the bar about what happened to us, one of the locals said, never stay on the green line or the Caravel line, which is because he said before it was okay, but now it's a little risky to stay there. So
the green line of the subway, I think, is
right.
what you're saying.
Well, which we'll put the information in the description or maybe in this video. Just make sure that you try not to be around those areas.
And then one thing that's also super important is that there is no Apple store in Lisbon. We wanted to go to an Apple store to ask the geniuses What do? We just lock the phone and we lock the MacBook, but what else can we do? Can we trace it? Can we find it? And Apple, if you look at the Find My iPhone, it says there like remove device or erase device. If you erase the device, that means that all of your information, including your logins and your Apple ID, will be gone, which means that you won't be able to track that phone anymore. So, and then if you remove the device, obviously you won't be able to track that phone anymore. So do not do either. Just lock it and then leave it alone.
Mark it as lost.
Mark
right?
it as lost. Yeah, mark it as lost. And then the problem with that too is that when I put in mark as lost, I put in my phone number so that, hopefully someone who finds it will call us back. But the problem with that is now they have my phone number and they've been spoofing me with texts that says that we've detected a new SIM card on your iPhone 15 and, click on this link. And if you click it, which we did, it shows up as an iCloud, like Find My. Very, very, very similar, like exactly the same. And it's asking me to put in our user ID and password, which we did not do. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think this is real. I don't think this is Apple. And I tried to text them back, like, give me back my phone. And it just bounced off. So I can't contact this text, like this Apple text. There's an Apple support text that I've communicated with before. And so when you compare it, it looks different. Apple actually has a check mark. You'll see it. It's more official.
The colors are different too.
Right.
The shades are different.
So, and like it turned green when I was trying to text the guy. So anyway, just lesson learned, just mark them as lost and leave them alone so that nobody else can use it. And don't remove or erase the device from your Find My. And don't click on any links from Apple because Apple won't do that. We already talked to a genius here in Valencia when we got back.
And I think it's important to note that, when you mark your phone lost, the Apple Store genius that we were talking to a few days ago, she was saying that it's going to be super inconvenient for these thieves when they steal the phone and the laptop from you, because every piece of spec in there in that computer is just going to be marked lost, so they can't reuse these things anymore. So yeah, just make sure it's lost and not erased, because once you erase it, it's
Right.
theirs.
Lesson learned, don't be complacent. Don't get anything on the first floor. And then, double check it was a legal tourist apartment. It wasn't like a run-of-the-mill Airbnb, It was a legal tourist apartment. Ask them, what the security codes, do you change them every time? Is it different for each person? Or is it, especially for the front door, right? And then what other ways, does it have an AC, a fan? How safe is your neighborhood? All of these things, they should be able to answer you.
I think more than anything, you just need to be very diligent. We're super diligent when it comes to these things. We did not expect these people to get into the apartment.
Right.
Whenever we're on the street, we have everything, the straps and everything secured. We did not expect them to get into the apartment while we're there. So that's the scariest part. And what we've realized as well was, these cops, they're there to take your statement. They're not there to immediately run to your rescue, because they have procedures and all these things. And just like what we were talking to about the police officer, he was telling us that, it's mostly paperwork and blah, blah, blah. So
He even said, you should have just gone to Sintra today because we had the tour that we obviously didn't go to. And he goes, you could have just gone to Sintra and then come back and file a report with me.
So,
I mean,
they're there to take your statements. They're there to do the paperwork for you. The rental unit owners are the same. They do not. They won't help.
Not really. No, they did, even getting that there was a camera at this location, and even just getting those information the cops have to call us, and they were calling you, you weren't picking up, and then call the officer directly, and then they had to call the cops. I'm like, this is just ridiculous, how much inaction there was for something that, we weren't robbed in the middle of the street. people went to our house while we were sleeping and burglarized us. So very frustrating, definitely very scary. I'm glad we didn't wake up, because if we did, we would get hurt. So I think, I hope they catch him. I hope that they were able to provide camera images. I hope that because we had an AirTag, we knew where this person lived and where he hung out, that they are able to compare those images with him.
Right, because the police officer said this is the first time we've ever had a situation where you actually know where the equipment is because of the AirTag. So thankfully we had the AirTag. Probably next time I'll buy one of those window sensors that would alarm if someone goes through the window or a window opens. Yeah. I think
or
those
a door
are going to be
sensor, yeah.
Whatever we find that would help. We'll try to put it in the description, because I feel like you guys need to be able to protect yourselves, because no one's really going to try to protect you. Thankfully, Apple had
Right.
this option where you can just block everything, and
Yeah.
But I can't imagine. I don't know what the Android users have to go through, but I'm just so happy we have Apple that everything would work.
Yeah, we
out.
just locked everything and removed everything, all of the payment information right away. And once we got home, that's the only time that Paul was able to log out of Google from those devices. So yeah, it was a little bit of a scary situation at first, because they had the card, and we actually called Wise, the debit card, 3 times to make sure that everything is locked, there's no activity, because he couldn't log in. He didn't have any logins. He couldn't check it with his phone. No computer, nothing. I can't log in with my phone to his account because it's linked to his phone number, and his phone number is on that phone that was stolen. So yeah, it was just a mess. So we had to call Wise 3 times to ask them, is there any unusual activity? And they said, yes, there were transactions that were declined. So, but anything before that, nothing from the previous days. So we felt really good about that.
And we actually were supposed to sleep one more night at that rental apartment. No. We just said, no, we're just going to look for another hotel. And,
right.
The owner didn't have remorse, no message about an offer to refund us.
The entire thing. They just refunded that one night, but that was it.
Yeah.
It was very, yeah.
So when we went to the hotel, I even had to put a bottle on the doorknob because we were just so traumatized. I've never gone through a trauma like this, that even here at home, I feel like someone's just gonna climb in and open the door and grab our stuff. So it's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, stay safe out there. Be vigilant. Don't be like us. But we thought
we did our best.
We really thought that we were gonna be okay. We came from the Philippines. We knew what a busy city was like. But yeah, it was just unexpected.
Yeah. So hopefully this video helps. Stay safe. Just so you can get to enjoy your trip to Europe, be vigilant and try to.
Right.
Try not to bring too much stuff with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.
So yeah, that's it. Lesson learned. Be diligent with your stuff. All right. Good luck. Have fun in Lisbon.